The weary traveler draws close to the end of the path.
We have never had it so good.
All of this just works.
We are selling tea to China.
You did not have to redeem this, ma'am!
Out with them, forget about them.
Your broadcast is very biased. You've written a lot of ridiculous articles, so I would encourage you to be more journalistic and have more integrity.
Socialism is when the government does stuff.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Longhouse, the weekly show of the sensible centrist. Now, I have a bit of a change in the audio this week, so I know if my audio is too low or if you can hear me, etc. I will try to fix that. Someone's saying I'm roboting. Can you hear me, Lennypath?
I thought it was my connection actually, but if other people are hearing that, then maybe it's you.
All right, give me a moment.
Yeah, you're fine now, actually.
I'm fine now.
Yeah. I was just sitting here thinking, okay, now my connection is going out again, but maybe not, because the intro was fine. So,
a lot of things. I think Twitter is down. Other sites are down.
No.
We're not streaming to Twitter right now because it, I guess it knelt under the weight of all the Ghibli posting.
Yeah, all the AI.
I did indulge in one, as I usually do, and I lost. I actually lost a former guest of the show, Alexander Adams, as a follower over it, which I find to be totally justified. I think I give Fat Christian. So.
I thought it was funny.
We did a couple of months ago, really,
so we have some roboting again.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me try to change my settings.
Yeah. Is it on my end as well? Because I can't hear that.
Okay, I'm trying more just pure input now. Maybe it'll help. We'll just have to see.
Without the voice modifiers, you sound like Mickey Mouse. So that's no good, right?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so everyone, we're going to be covering a lot of base stuff tonight. Is it?
No, it's much better. It sounds better now. Yeah, I think
Okay.
we need to keep it low res for this one.
We'll keep it low res.
But yeah, I guess hello to everybody, because we got interrupted by that stuff, and I guess thanks for the patience. Sometimes there are delays, but such is life for young fathers.
Yeah, as I said last time, I'm getting good at putting little walrus to bed, but I mean sometimes you can't really time the kid, right? Sometimes it's half an hour before, sometimes it's 10 minutes after, right?
Yeah, there's some logistics and scheduling involved, as always. So for this stream, I mean, we thought about various things, and the natural thing would be if we would cover like Signal Gate, but it seems to have been just done to death already. When we're getting a little bit tired of the across the pond stuff, and of course Greenland would have been another one, but that's also kind of no. We're going to do some wholesome Chungus Scandi media news reading, right?
Yeah, we're gonna continue griping about the youngins. That's what we're gonna do today. I have a couple of articles because I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we covered, or we have for a while covered, Gen Z entering the workforce being covered by Norwegian media, and I have a couple of articles here that sort of paint a broader picture here that are quite recent. We also have a return of our favorite columnist, Jesse Kong, who's gonna basically tell Gen Z to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. So that's going to be interesting. So, but we'll start here with, okay, so I don't even know how to say your name, first of all. But we'll start with the slop, and then we'll get to the real news later. You have to eat your vegetables first. Let's see here.
We don't know where the slop ends and the real news begin anymore.
That's true. So, this is an article about Norwegian debt rising while financial knowledge levels falling. So, this is written by a civil economist at one of the largest Nordic banks, and she works daily communicating finance to young people. And she's written a list of things that scare her about the up-and-coming ones. One of the strongest feelings of mastery I can remember myself was the time when, as a 15-year-old, I finally got my very first summer job. There were several things that opposed me in my search for work. Like most other young people, I was too young and inexperienced, and there was a lot of competition for the jobs where I lived. Last but not least, I had moved to Norway from Poland at the age of 11 without knowing any Norwegian, with parents who did not have such a large network. But after knocking on almost every door in the south of Norway, I finally got a job in this is the zoo, local zoo, where I made pizza for an endless stream of hungry and tired families with small children. The job was tough, I was insecure, and had much to learn. But the sense of accomplishment and mastery I felt when I had my very first paycheck, I'm never going to forget. Making your own money and realizing that there are real working hours behind it is, in my opinion, undervalued. And if you do not make your own money, you also lose the opportunity to train yourself to become good at your own finances. Now we are in the high season for summer job searching, and although many young people this summer will have their first encounter with with sort of working life, too many will not have that chance. Thus, they lose this learning opportunity to become good at both working and managing their own money. And while economics simultaneously glimpses with its, shines with its absence in school, it is felt in young people's knowledge of their own economy, or we feel it in young people's knowledge of their own economy. I work daily communicating finances to young people, and this scares me quite properly. Quote, figures from Norwegian debt register, figures from the Norwegian debt register show that Norwegians between 18 and 29 years old have increased their unsecured debt by over 1.3 billion in the last year. So unsecured debt is, I guess, everything that you don't have any physical assets in, right? That would be anything.
Credit cards, right?
Yeah,
or,
essentially.
Weird financing things that you could get. On
those
solutions.
Weird, like, hey, if you want to buy a couch or something, here's here's a loan with 30% interest. So go die.
Yeah, computer stuff, like all of these companies that sell retail stuff to young people, they just create their own consumer banks.
Yeah,
like I think you have this kind of computer equipment company in Norway. They have their own bank that offers you financing for a keyboard or something.
Yeah,
and of course I forgot about this because it happened so early in the week. But there's been a lot of stories like from last week and this week about how now people who are ordering Uber Eats and stuff in the United States, they can now finance their pizzas or
through Klarna.
through Klarna, actually. I mean, of course, if you like, we recommended this YouTuber Caleb Hammer, at least for people with like particular interest in character studies of Gen Z and millennial financial train wrecks. Because with Dave Ramsey, you get to see like the Gen X boomer stuff, but with this Hammer character, I mean, of course, you can watch a few episodes. It gets tiresome after a while because it's so much advertising and the format's quite annoying.
Sure.
But like this is, I think it showcases this kind of stuff where people are, they're buying food.
It features frequently. And,
Klarna comes. I thought that was a mistake when he said it, because Klarna is something that, okay, when I buy like a gift for my wife or something, that's like the payment provider, and I knew it was a Swedish payment provider, but apparently they have like big penetration into the American market. by selling, like financing solutions for pizzas and breadsticks to American millennials. That's like how you get rich in Sweden, offering partial payments to millennials
Which is
in Austin,
insane.
Texas.
I mean, I'm not dogging necessarily on Klarna for siphoning money out of the American economy. Good on them, I guess. But yeah, it's hitting another level of dystopia, isn't it?
Well, it's sort of on and off. I mean, I think people exaggerated it because when I looked into the articles, it's not like unsecured debt type stuff. It's more like, okay, you can split the payment in 2 or 3, or you could pay later. You could you get it now.
What, they're gonna repo your burrito?
I mean, usually it's sort of based on like trust and credit stuff. And the thing is that, of course, if you have that option, you're going to be buying more than you would have done otherwise, even though they're not asking for like a 15% unsecured payday loan or something. So it's still going to encourage more brainless consumption. But I mean, people were like joking about like this was going to be the next financial bubble. The tranches of burrito loans, A+ ranked, that it's going to crash the American economy. I think it's a little bit exaggerated, but funny nonetheless. Like, and it ties in with this, so at least I mentioned it.
This group now has an incredible 11.6 billion. Now let's be. I mean, this is probably Norwegian kroner, so you can just divide by 10. So it's not that much in American dollars, but it's still, considering the group we're talking about, 18 to 29, it's a lot of money. 11.6 billion in consumer debt and almost 3 billion kroner belongs to those between 18 and 24. How should an 18-year-old who has never learned about interest rates, budgets, or savings have any chance of understanding the consequences of a consumer loan? This is reflected in the PISA test, which measures 15-year-olds' economic skills, where Norwegian students score worse than students in countries such as Hungary, Portugal, and Poland. Over 20% of students did not know what the word budget means. Jesus. Almost as many were unsure of terms such as maple and bank loan. I'm not sure if maple is the correct word here. Let me just bring up the original real quick. So let's see here. It's not maple. That has to be wrong. Yeah, it's it actually means paycheck. It's no wonder that many young people struggle with the economy when they are sent into adulthood without basic knowledge of something that is such a big part of life. It would be like sending a young person onto a boat with holes in it and expect them to find their way safely to shore. There's no life jacket in this boat either. Fortunately, some people are trying to change that. After Easter, nearly 100 light yellow ice cream trucks from the large ice cream company, Lick, will appear all around the country, and around 1,000 young people will have the chance to get their first summer job. This is a company that works with the bank to basically give young people financial training and a lot of an opportunity to work a summer job, essentially.
Does it have anything to do with ice cream, or is it just some?
Yeah, they sell ice cream. That's what they do. Yeah,
to teach people about finance.
To teach people about finance, to provide summer jobs for young people.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite a nice I think initiative. But this is just saying that the knowledge levels are falling, and then we have an article from, I mentioned the return of Jesse Kong, who was writing about the West bad. China isn't.
China.
Yeah, China isn't to blame. And she writes, the fact that Gen Z has grown up in a challenging world does not give them a right to claim benefits and claim to have it both ways.
The translation of that.
Yeah,
it's so funny. It really means having your cake and eating it too. That's the term, but it's in Norway you call it like you can't fill both your bag and your sack at the same time. Right?
Yeah. Far too many people in my generation think they can get a leadership position with office opportunities in Manhattan with only a little rizz and drip at the job interview. We are the first generation to reject job offers if they do not meet our requirements for a company cabin, a home office, and flexi time, meaning that you can, work flexible hours. We have social anxiety, but we don't hesitate to throw paint on works of art and dance on TikTok. We claim that we're not lazy but innovative, but there is nothing innovative about scrolling TikTok under your office desk and delivering the bare minimum. We promise ourselves as advocates for work-life balance. We promote ourselves as advocates for work-life balance. I don't come to a single. Let's see here. I don't know of a single company where the employees have succeeded in creating something groundbreaking by logging off at 2 p.m. to go on wine nights, or to go have wine date nights. You can ask Microsoft founder Bill Gates, you can ask Elon Musk, the driving force behind Tesla's success, and you can ask Amazon founder Jeff Bezos.
You can ask Vivek Ramaswamy, who has done a big piece about this. Exactly, telling white people they need to work 20-hour workdays if you're going to get anything done. So,
if everyone had this mentality that one must take their breaks and have such a balance, I guess the dole. What would this be? This would just be like the unemployment.
Yeah, it's the unemployment office or the welfare office.
The unemployment office would have completed their cases in the next century, and your complaint would have taken a lot more than 10 working days, which one already complains about. So this is about how their response time, essentially. Gen Z has to learn that working hard is not synonymous with being exploited. Many of us need to understand that selfishness is not the same as self-care. I am Gen Z myself, and I have genuinely tried to be open to the mindset of my generation. Someone has to tell us that okay, that's the translation butchering it. One moment. Someone has to tell us that this is just the way the world is, because not everything you do in everyday life will end up saving the world. It is often argued that we will not accept a system that does not appreciate us, but then we must first show that we are worth something. You do not do that through quiet quitting. Or to run to the union boss or the union rep, I guess, as soon as the general manager gives you any instructions, or if you work from your bed on Fridays. You cannot approach the negotiating table and demand luxury in the workplace when all you have to show for it is the 5-hour work experience through, doing mandatory school work training in 10th grade. On the other hand, we encounter very little understanding that we as a generation have grown up in a Black Mirror episode. Our parents' generation grew up with everything getting better, a more peaceful world, stronger economic growth, and bigger houses. Gen Z grew up with a terrorist attack on 9/11 playing on the TV. The terror attacks on Utøya in Norway, apartments the size of bucket pots sold for hundreds of thousands of kroner over their tariff or estimate, and a Europe and war. Interesting that she didn't mention COVID. That usually gets brought up. All that goes to show all that, and the interest rates are still going up, the house prices are going up, and student debt is increasing. Before, you could get quite far with 1,000 kroner, as my parents did when they built a business and later bought a house. Today, I bought a monthly ticket for the public transport for twice that amount. The fact that Gen Z has grown up in a challenging world does not give them a right to claim benefits and have it both ways. Have their cake and eat it too. The world does not revolve around us. We're good at criticizing the system for not adapting to our demands, but we have shown that we're not worth it when the effort we put in is to leave early for yoga time, or for yoga lessons, and to make memes on PowerPoint presentations. At the same time, it's high time that we realize that a balance is required between our own needs and the collective, because after all, it is we who have to work until we're 70 years old, and will probably lose welfare benefits that our parents take for granted. So, it's a bit of a mixed bag, what she's saying here, but essentially she's saying that, Gen Z has to kind of step up to the plate, I guess. They can't just...
Yeah, well, I think they'll step up when they have to step up. Nobody's going to do that because of encouragement. the yoga and work-life balance stuff, it seems very deliberate. It's like it comes from a very conscious place, even though they're talking about like they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, if they already have clear goals about what they want from in terms of job security and for employment, then clearly they have like predefined things already set out. You can think that's gay or whatever, but I don't know. It's just weird that they want that when they're that young and not as they've gotten older. But at the same time, I think it's kind of interesting that they're, they seem to have learned something before they showed up. Even though it's just okay, I need to be conscious about my work-life balance or something. It does imply that they understand that this is where they're going to stay, right? They're not just being suckered into the job. I'm probably going to stay here for the rest of my life. So at least I'm going to have some work-life balance or something that works. Let's say someone like me, for example, who would have thought that, okay, I'm going to work here and then I'm going to get up to his next position and, move further up and then I'm going to make more money and having like completely unrealistic expectations that just end up being smashed. Exactly. I think that was more common with my generation and maybe Gen Xers, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, if we look at the next article here, when we talk about expectations, because maybe this is something that a lot of people are experiencing. Unfortunate close-up, I would say here. This is about Maya, who is highly educated but without a job. And a quote from her saying, "What's the point?" An expert warns that Norwegian youngsters must make education choices blindly. I'm questioning this expert on that because I don't believe you necessarily have to make education choices blindly. But it gets quite dark in periods, Maya says. The job seeker life has broken me. She's 32 years old. She's soon in her 6th year, marked by unrest, temporary positions, and long periods without a full-time job. It's not what she envisioned when she... let me bring this up just in case there's some more. Okay, yeah. That's not what she envisioned when she took on both bachelor's and master's at 2 renowned universities in Europe. So she has... I think she has a bachelor's and a master's at 2 different universities, maybe. It's incredibly tough, and I think many recognize or see themselves in this position. The 32-year-old has finished her bachelor's degree in social anthropology and master's degree in creative writing in 2019. And since then, she has felt upset, frustrated, angry, and sad.
I can't imagine why.
I can't imagine why.
But let's hear her out. Let's see what the plan was here.
Let's see what the plan was. I'll have I did the bare minimum for like doing computer stuff, because I was taking courses outside of university. I just wanted the paper so I could get a job, right? The bachelor's degree was just a necessity because of the system, right? And I knew that what I chose was going to be, something that the market was valuing.
Yeah, exactly the same for me. I mean, I'd started on some more like social science, economics related stuff, but I realized that I was pigeonholing myself for a job in low-level bureaucracy, really. That's right. I mean, that was a completely realistic assessment at the time. I would have been working at a bureaucratic job at the welfare office. Basically, if I finished my education, that would have been,
157 says, to be honest, engineering masters are having a difficult time getting jobs now. If you're talking in Norway specifically, I'm not sure where you are in the world. In Norway specifically, I can speak for that. Yes, right now it's a bit of a dip. But this woman has been looking for 6 years. The market was very different 4 years ago. She could have gotten a job. Since June last year, Maya has submitted 70 job applications. She applies for both jobs for which she's not. She applies for jobs for which she's not qualified for, and jobs for which she's overqualified for. Now, I'm not going to assume what Maya has or hasn't applied for, but I'm going to say that she probably hasn't applied for a job at Burger King, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I think someone like her would be overlooked at Burger King because they know she's just going to walk the first moment she gets another opportunity. She's going to expect high pay, likely, and then just leave. and not to really be that into it anyway. If you're coming in with like a master's degree in creative writing or something, you're probably not manning the ice
You're
cream
not very
machine
invested
with
in flipping
a lot
burgers,
of joy
that's true.
and smiling at the customers. So that's I mean, that's you sort of price yourself out of a lot of jobs when you go for the masters. So like, yeah, useless master's degrees are it's like a kind of poison. You can finish reading the article, but I do have some comment there, like in terms of you pigeonhole yourself into certain paths that you have to take.
You have, yeah.
At that point.
I think many people, including myself, are left with the feeling of having invested a lot in their education, both time and money. And what's the point? I don't feel that I've got much left for it, she says, referring to her job opportunities. Maya mainly chose education based on her interests. She wants to tell stories. Why did she choose anthropology if she wants to tell stories? Why not?
Well, that was the bachelor, right? I think the master's was the creative writing thing. So
yeah, but isn't there bachelor's in creative writing or something more akin to that?
Oh, yeah, good point.
I find that having studied humanities and creative subjects can make it somewhat tricky to find your place in the labor market. Nevertheless, she believes that education choices have played an important role in her life. My studies have both contributed to how I look at the world today and assisted me in my creative journey, she says, adding, but considering the job opportunities and predictability in my life, I might not have chosen the same if I could go back in time. Now, I'm quite sure her studies have contributed how she looks at the world today. Okay, so here we get to the expert. Young people today, this is Mona Mathieson. Young people today are very keen to take make education choices that ensures work, but that information isn't necessarily available. Again, I think you can make quite good educated guesses, right? I mean, if I like history. I was thinking about a history degree, but I knew that if I did that, it was not going to give me a lot of job opportunities. Right?
I think you can guess by just looking at job listings currently and think that in 3 years, those job listings are not going to be gone.
And you can get unlucky and sort of like, miss your timing. Like if you're like fresh out of college now looking for tech jobs, it's hard in Norway because the economy is not necessarily in the toilet, but it's in one of those like nobody move moments, right? So no one's hiring, no one's doing new projects. But if you look at it long term, if you think about your entire career, if you're in tech, you're set. Like there's going to be opportunities, right? You're just going to have to wait it out a year or two.
Yeah, for some people it just moves slowly. I think with all of the uncertainty in the world.
That's true. The Norwegian sort of like labor ministry has like a website for this.
It's weird if you bother to look, but I get the impression that was sort of secondary for this person. I mean, if you go by interest, of course, but the thing is, if you take like a creative writing master's degree, what are you looking at in terms of careers? Because like if you wanted to be a creative writer or a copywriter or something, that market is smashed by AI. I mean, I'm not an AI doomer, but if you want to look at careers that actually have been replaced, slop writing.
Yeah, like copywriting for...
basically, writing slop for advertising, that has been replaced. Marketing as a field, like I'm the ideas guy, I'm like the female Don Draper, that has been replaced by social media, by AI, by advertising solutions. So if that's what you had in mind, forget about it. I mean, what work could you get? You could get like a really
the closest thing to Don Draper you are now is like wrangling influencers, probably, right?
I mean, you could get like that was I was going to get to that, but you could get like a precarious journalism job, like very low paying, if you're willing to put up with like weird hours, searching process, and you have some credential in terms of writing, and I think like the best thing if you wanted to just do writing would be just to become an influencer, and you could just say that I have a master's in creative writing, and you spend your time on social media promoting yourself and talking about stuff, and eventually
it's hard though.
It's difficult, but if you have 6 years of doing fuck all, then I mean, what else are you going to do, right? You could just put in time and try to find a niche. And then,
Yeah.
okay, you just use that to write and do stuff online. And of course, there are venues opening for aspiring influencers. I want to talk about that afterward. The influencer economy. It's probably some you could get some jobs writing about deaths in Ukraine or something by some anonymous company that is really interested in that. But I mean, otherwise, if you actually were looking for some stable career like 9 to 5 from a creative writing, okay, you have to go into education then. You have to just go into teaching or go for a PhD or something like that, because there's I mean, that would have been like the obvious choice. She would take like another year of some pedagogical studies and teach classes somewhere. But of course, she probably wants it like a Hollywood type job, like they have in these romance movies, where the husband is like an architect or something and the wife is a designer, and they just have like one big room where they write on a blackboard or like what do you call it? They have this large piece of paper that they just draw their ideas on, and they get paid enough to have a like mansion. So yeah, I mean, there's just very little reality here.
Nordanon writes, this is Nordan on lore. Question for the panel. I've been getting a bachelor's degree in international relations for close to 3 years now. I'm actually in the process of writing my thesis right now. How screwed am I? You're not necessarily screwed, but you are pigeonholing yourself a bit. But it's a big market, really. The big ones are, of course, you know, what's it called? The Ministry of Foreign Affairs or whatever. But you can also do a lot of stuff with there's a lot of, I mean, if you really want to be a part of the system, you can go into the NGOs, right? So it's a big private quote unquote market for this stuff. But it's one of those, it's like economics. Having like an international relations bachelor or having like an economics bachelor doesn't really mean that much. It's just you have the baseline, you're a blank canvas, you know. Either you specialize in a master's, like you do in economics, and get licensed, or you get something complementary to sort of specialize yourself in another way.
I forgot politics, actually.
Yeah, politics as well.
As a sort of career thing, and if you're talking about international relations, or even for this girl, I mean, okay, if she had gotten into politics by the time she gets out of this in some kind of activist thing or some, you know, you could work your way into like a low-paying part-time version of a job or something with that, or you could at least use that as a sort of canvas as a jumping-off point. So if you're willing to do some work, I think that would be ideal. So I'm just sort of spitballing here, but yeah, international relations would be interesting. I'm just not sure. I think it would be difficult to get the job. I think you should at least lower the expectations for like the first job. Maybe take a job like at NAV or something, like the welfare office, because usually those people they want people to work for them. And if you're I mean, if you live up north, I think it would be easier if you're willing to live up in like these areas where nobody wants to live and work for the welfare offices, just to get experience or something under your belt. That would be my recommendation.
Javier Olivia says, if you were a one-armed economist, you would have an advantage over every one other economist because you could never say on the other hand. There's another one. I don't quite remember it. My father is an economist, and he said that, you know, the best economists are the ones that give you excellent detailed answers that are totally useless or something like that. Let's see here. Okay. So the expert says, today you have to make an education choice based on the reputation exchange and what is portrayed in the media. Let me just double check if this isn't a weird translation. She says, yeah, no, she's using it like the stock exchange, so like reputation exchange, and what is the sort of the kudos for the work in the media. It does not reflect reality. Really? Do the kids these days go like, oh no, I'm not going to be an engineer. That's boring. That's like Urkel nerd stuff. I mean, I know there's a certain degree of it, but that sounds kind of strange.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Considering
either.
the Tate generation is all about like making moves and making money. I guess they just want to hustle. They don't actually want to work that nice. Is that it?
They want to be influencers. Like not everybody can be influencers, but at least you should see an opening there with. I mean, it's weird if you want to be this kind of hustler influencer person. If you don't just try to get into sales, I think it's just sort of surprisingly few amount of people who. I mean, if you want to be Andrew Tate, why don't you just start selling stuff?
Yeah,
it seems to be a lot quicker as a sort of way to just do whatever he's doing already now. I mean, if you want to just be grinded out and be based or whatever, nothing better than going knocking on doors and being chased by pit bulls or calling people until they tell you to fuck off.
Nordan, if you live in the north, there's a big community for international relations in the polar circle. There's a lot of jobs to be had there, by the way. Just saying. Like just dealing with Russia is like a full-time job for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean,
in the north.
that's where most of the military and the security and the stuff is needed in Norway, right? It's at the Russian border, but most people don't want to live there. So if you want to take a crack at it, I think it would be interesting. I mean, I knew a guy, the guy who works in like the welfare offices, right? And he spent a year working in that area. As a sort of internal job offering there, and you can get paid a little bit more if you want to work there because they need people. Simply because it's just not very attractive to most people to live in like cold climates. It's like they have really strange, day cycles in there. Sometimes it's like dark 22 hours a day or light 22 hours a day, and it's kind of otherworldly, like The Shining movie with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. Everyone that I know work in the trades. Yeah, I mean the trades are becoming more and more attractive to a lot of people, but the big hidden thing for a lot of the trades when you look at the numbers is that if you want to make it good in the trades, you're gonna have to sort of like you can't just work for someone else. You're gonna have to branch off and start your own plumbing company or whatever at some point. And if you're not good at the business side of that, like if you don't have the smarts to actually handle the business, or you have someone who can help you with that, you're going to fail, right? So yes, there's good money in the trades, but there's good money in the trades if you can be a good contractor.
You gotta learn to.
Sorry, not a good. I guess contractor is the word. I'm trying to. It's hard to translate.
You got to learn to upsell people. Basically, I think if you're going to make
well,
make
not
that
just
extra
upsell,
cash.
even just I hear a lot of stories about tradespeople who lose job opportunities because they're bad at sending invoices, right? Like if you do like plumbing work for a company or like electrical work for a company, if you mess up like sending an invoice on time, they'll just not call you next time, because actually the hassle for their accounting department to sort of like dig out the invoice or to find it to get it from you is worth less than just finding someone else who'll send it on time, right? Stuff like that.
It's interesting because it's never been easier. They've created so many like small business back office apps now that you can like get a reasonably cheap monthly membership to send invoices, especially if it's for like simple stuff.
Yeah, I think I had like one electrician who did a lot of work at our place in like February, and he forgot to send me an invoice until like November. And I was kind of just like, at some point I was expecting the invoice, but at some point I'm like, well, I mean, if he doesn't
it's
wanna,
free,
I'm just gonna put the money, in a high interest account and let it grow while he essentially plays bank for me. And he did of course send me an invoice late November, but I mean at that point he's essentially lost cash flow, right? So it's these kind of things where it's a bit hidden, sort of the skills you need if you actually want to make a lot of money in trades. Otherwise you'll just be you know, a gopher, I guess, or a mid-level, you know, carpenter. And you can be good at that, right? You can still be a good, skilled tradesman, but the big money is in the business.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can get this.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You can get decent stability if you have like some kind of you're part of some larger company with a government contract or something. But yeah, like if you want some fatter pockets, then you're going to have a company of your own and learn to upsell and maybe work on the weekends.
Carl Habermas says, the problem, I think, with whatever path young people choose is that they want to put in middling effort and have that translate to a comfortable middle-class lifestyle. I understand what you're saying, yes, but you know, compounding that is that middle-class lifestyle is by the year becoming harder and harder to reach, essentially. On top of that. Let's see here. She points out, this is the expert again, she points out that both Sweden and Denmark give young people an indication of what the prospects for the future and the various educational paths look like. So what's this one? This is a Danish something. Oh, this is like a map the Danes made. And you can be like, oh, this is for various different salespeople, it seems. And
isn't it like leadership positions? That's what
is that it? Maybe
interpreted.
It is, yeah. It's leadership positions, and the blue is good. Green is very good. Yellow is less good opportunities. Mathisen problematizes that the information young people get about this often comes from learning sites themselves. I'm not sure what she means by that. We're lacking in that the young people who will make a choice have access to neutral and fact-checked information about job opportunities. Sure, but this is kind of like the planned economy kind of thing. Like, who's going to know what kind of work we will need? Like, you can't really... I was saying you can sort of make an educated choice, but that doesn't mean you can make an objective choice, right? You can see where the thing is heading, and you can make safe bets and you can make dangerous bets on your education, essentially. And you can make unrealistic bets, which a lot of young people have done, you know, by getting social anthropology and creative writing degrees.
Yeah, that's a pretty extreme case almost. It's very hard to make the case that it's like this was like a safe, rational choice from an economic actor who wanted a middle-class lifestyle.
Like my choice going into, you know, IT and programming was a safe bet for me. If I wanted to really push it, I would have gone into like business school and tried to push, you know, to push for a more like high-risk sort of job style, right? But that's, you know, you make the decision yourself, right? But my point is, choose between the safe bet and the high risk bet. Don't choose the unrealistic bet. Let's see here. If Maya had received more impartial information about her job opportunities, she believes it could have affected her choice of direction. Do you really believe that? Like, if someone were to go to Maya, like, what is it going to be? It's going to be 6 plus a bachelor's, so that would have been like 10, maybe 12 years ago.
She's like 20 years old then, I assume.
If someone goes to 20-year-old Maya telling her that you should probably become a nurse because then you'll get a job, right? I don't think she would have listened.
I don't think so either. I mean, it's a lot of wishful thinking here, and maybe she found some influencers or some people talking about following your dreams or how that's going to work out. I think it was more of that maybe 12 years ago, less so now. I don't know how many the increase or decrease in creative writing graduates look. But I do think this is sort of based on heavy wishful thinking, and the fact that she still doesn't have a regular job after 6 years is also based on the kind of holding out for the dream opportunity to still show up.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, you know, you can't get the dream job necessarily the first time, right? You start somewhere, and then, you know, before you know it, you have the experience under your belt where when an opportunity comes along, you're the right one for the job. But that takes 5 years, right?
Yeah, at least 5 years, maybe 10 or something, depending on.
Yeah, like the day when, there's a job opportunity at your desk and you're like, wait, hang on, I tick all these boxes, right? I'm actually qualified for this job. I'm perfect for it. That doesn't come not doing dirty work, unfortunately. Let's see here. This is another researcher. We're risking overproduction of education that is cheap to produce for educational institutions, according to Arl Henrik Steen. So what he's saying here is that we're creative maxing, I guess, because I would think like a creative writing class is a lot cheaper to produce than an engineering class, especially when it needs specific machinery. He points to studies dealing with sales and marketing, social sciences, and economics and administration. Too many students, too few jobs. There is a risk that those who acquire these types of educations will have to post-educate themselves. That's insane. Like you do like a 3+2 master's degree, and you have to get even more education. In the future, we'll see a greater demand to be flexible, and the ability to change the direction becomes quite important, he explains. At some point, we're just going to have to say, higher education isn't for everyone. And we don't necessarily have to do that, by snubbing people. We'll just have to say that, you can just go online, bro. Just teach yourself on the job, and sort of we change the culture, I guess, where jobs, or I guess companies, are more open to that. And the universities will just revert back to being based and for the few and not the many.
Well, what I was thinking about is, you have the kids who are sort of adverse to mathematics. So you try to teach them math, and they say, "What do I need this for when I have a calculator?" Right? And now the argument should just be, "What do you need creative writing for when you have AI generative models?" So
I dislike that AI. We're sort of using AI to, instead of using AI to sort of do the shitty things, we're using AI to do all the things that humans find fun. and the annoying parts of a process is the ones that remain, because they're usually the difficult ones, right?
You've automated mediocrity, essentially, mediocre writing and mediocre art, which a lot of people like to do. So,
all right. He believes that this requirement will apply to most professions, but he points specifically to these educational paths. Taking any humanities, social sciences, or economic classes and administrative subjects, one will more often risk having to change their thematic area or their majors. It is not necessarily a disadvantage, he said. A combination of humanities subjects and care sciences could be an advantage, for example. That's actually true if you're looking to become a bureaucrat in like public health or something. Now, if we're on to Vilde Clausen, who's 25, she has also experienced a tough transition from her studies to work life. She has previously talked about this in one of the other large papers. With a bachelor's degree in digital marketing and sales management, the 25-year-old has applied for 70 relevant jobs and received about the same amount of rejections. It has always been tough. I thought it would be easier. So what is sales management and digital marketing? Let me just double check the Norwegian test. Like, what is that?
Digital marketing sounds very GPT-like.
Digital marketing and sales management.
Isn't that just managing in a social media account?
Maybe.
Again, like being a digital manager.
But like if you're a company, right? Like this is the difficult thing with like sales too, right? Anything that has to do with business and sales. It's very hard to be like, yeah, I'm going to take this unproven 25-year-old and I'm going to, because she knows how to do management. No, she doesn't, right? No 25-year-old with no experience knows how to manage anyone. They barely know how to manage themselves, right?
But in terms of digital marketing, if you just want to have a young person shit post on your Instagram account, then of course you can just hire a 25-year-old.
But then just do the bachelor's degree in digital marketing. Don't do the sales management master, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think at least it looks to me like people are hiring young people to do digital marketing, like for the White House.
Yeah, someone has to
.gov
write, you know, the
account.
fake Facebook posts, right?
Just a quick one. I just got an update on Twitter from it's like the White House account. We're talking about like having young people managing your. Maybe you could just give a quick sneak peek because it was just a little bit too funny to.
I don't want to indulge too much in this. I've already had my fun, but yeah.
But yeah, this is.
This one was,
I guess this is like the dream job, like managing the White House account, and you're making like Ghibli edits of deportation.
Yeah, I guess you're living the life. If this is you.
Not everybody can do this, but some
frog out there.
SOB.
Yeah. It's funny. Lack of job security means that a master's must be carefully considered. I agree. But I mean, that is just as obvious today as it was 5 years ago. I don't understand why this is a problem all of a sudden. There are such high sums to pay back without knowing you will get a job. Do I want $1 million in student loans without getting a job? She admits that the past, probably not $1 billion. Kroner, probably.
Calm down, lady. You live in Norway. This is like the most cheapest student loan you're going to get.
It's literally the best student loan in the world. Yeah. She admits that the past few days have been demotivating. It's basically a tax. I thought it was bright, and I thought my future was bright, and there were many opportunities after a bachelor's degree. And then I finished, and it wasn't. It was pretty dark. Well, why did you think it was? Like, did someone lie to you? Like, why did you think this was true? Why did you think digital marketing was the way to go? If young people make choices blindly, it is problematic, according to Kjellgunnar Salvanes, referring that young people should know what the labor market is like before they seek education. I mean, yes. But, I mean, who is to blame then? If, like, this because this is gonna end up in a we need more money for them programs thing. Because who's to blame if the kids are doing masters without knowing the job opportunities? Is it the kids? Is it the parents? Who?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good question. I just hope it's not too many people doing this. Like you have the joke in the Americas where they talk about the baristas with a master's degree or something. I don't even know if Starbucks is hiring that many people. So there is just a kind of lack of pragmatism, and somebody should take the blame. But until the belt is tightened collectively, until the money dries up, then you're just going to have more of this stuff. It exists because it's allowed to exist, because we can afford for that to exist now. But as I said, like in places like Hungary and Slovakia, so you have less of this stuff because they can't afford it. It's quite simple. You have female STEM graduates in places where money is tight, and places where it isn't, then you get digital marketing graduates.
Yeah. He believes there's a big difference between the country's bachelor's degree and what you're left with after completing the degree. Some institutions oversell and can give a rosy picture of their postgraduate possibilities. Well, that is true, and I think the incentives are totally whack for universities, because as far as I understand, it's probably more complicated, but if you're going to simplify it a bit, it's essentially how many students can we get, which is not the metric you want your university to follow when you're looking at, like, how are we going to give them money?
I guess it is the point that some people live in a bubble in their own university. They overestimate how easy it is to get a job, but of course, at some point, even before you finish your education, you should start looking for job opportunities. And even if you're like 2 years into it, you might notice that there's like nothing. So maybe you change your education, or I mean, that's what happened to me. I did like 2 years, and I realized that like my only opportunity would have been like working at the welfare office, and I did computers instead. Yeah. So that was just my thinking. Like, why would I continue down this if I don't want what's on the other end? But I don't know. People think differently.
These jobs will increase the most in number worldwide. Agricultural, transport, developers for software, carpenter, construction workers, store workers, food processing, drivers, nurses, food serving, operation managers. if you're a ticket booth seller or a ticket seller, secretary, janitor, material manager, or printing professional, you're out, apparently.
Source World Economic Forum.
Oh,
I don't think
shit.
so.
I don't know.
Oh,
Klaus.
shit. I didn't know it was Klaus the whole time. He's trying to trick us into being drivers when Elon is going to bring the self-driving cars. Oh, no.
There is a risk of misdistribution of talent in society. Well, yeah, preach. People will waste their own time by taking education that no one asks for. It's bad for them and it's bad for society. It would be a big problem. This is why I don't see how you solve this in the current structure. That's why I'm like the companies have to, the culture have to shift to more training on the job, because how are you gonna, when technology is so much of the way we work today, especially in Norway, who is like a, what you would call like a tertiary economy, right? The universities are left behind after like 2-3 years, depending on what people actually want you to be doing. And so you're gonna have to train people on the job if you want to keep up like this. Like, I'm not saying people don't want digital marketers. They probably do. But do we really have to do like a 3-year bachelor's degree for that? To post on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I have always made the case that you could slim these educations down, but that's something that seems impossible until it doesn't, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you have to change the structure. Most importantly, you choose something that you... The most important thing is that you choose something you enjoy, he says. No one should have... you should have it in mind where the job opportunities are and what you can earn. This is another woman. She is the rector of the Christiania Vocational School in Oslo. We are conscious that we will give a proper picture. We are quite conscious that we give a proper picture of what different studies entail, she says. The University College's most popular studies includes HR, marketing and communication, art, design and media. Several of the lines, I guess, the education paths in the college are fields of study that Statistics Norway believes will have too many students in relation to the number of jobs available. The principal points out that it's the market that determines which educational choices applicants have. That's not necessarily true, because the market isn't real, because it's state funded. Right? It's, again, we said that the student loans are so forgiving that they're basically like a small tax. Which means that there isn't actually a proper market for this. Let's see here. We are responsible for ensuring that we have relevant education and that we do not overproduce any spots or places that aren't needed. We have contact with the workplace and with workplaces, and we work with them to sharpen the information about job opportunities. Maybe this is translation, but I feel like she's just saying nothing. No. I mean, she's saying that we're talking to companies and looking at what they want. But the thing is that it's very hard for a company to say that truthfully, and not because they want to lie. It's just that they don't necessarily know. And then you ask them 4 years later, and it's like, oh, well, we told you we wanted people to write copy for digital marketing, but actually we have AI now, so never mind, right?
You can't go wrong with spreadsheets, though. I don't know if you could just
my
teach
sole
people
mission as a
spreadsheets.
programmer is to eliminate the spreadsheet.
I feel like the more I program, the more spreadsheets I encounter, actually. In the beginning, it was more kind of like, this JSON stuff is pretty cool, but now everything is like CSV. Oh,
Maybe.
It's just my life. I mean, we spent a lot of time on this. I don't know what we have time for.
We have half an hour left, or up to half an hour.
Okay. I wanted to actually look at the Soda Gate stuff, because it ties into stuff that I've talked about.
Hello, everyone who's watching on Twitter, if there are anyone yet. Twitter, I think, is back up. We'll try to look at Soda Gate. Let's see here. Let me bring up the link.
So yeah, it's going to be, I guess, a bit of a shift in tone and topic.
Yes. I thought I had prepared this, but of course Twitter went down, so I didn't. So I'm gonna have to.
Well, I sent it to you in the Telegram.
No, I have the
chat
link. It
then,
just
so-
wasn't loading. Yeah.
Maybe I should have archived it then.
So this is a post from Nick Sorter a couple of days ago. He says, "Exposed, Influenceable, the company cutting big checks to influencers on behalf of Big Soda." So this is about a company called Influenceable. Over the past 48 hours, several large, supposedly MAGA-aligned influencers posted almost identical talking points fed to them, convincing you that that Maha was out of line. What is Maha again? What is
Make America Healthy Again. It's related to
it.
RFK Jr.
Yeah. Was out of line for not wanting soda purchases with food stamps. Some even slimely invoked President Trump as an emotional manipulation tactic, referring to his Diet Coke button. Not a single one of them disclosed they were paid for these posts, which led readers to believe a general soda ban was in the works. And here we have Clown World, Eric Dougherty, not Jerome Powell, and Ian Chun Lee.
It's our favorite high-integrity anonymous posters that...
a Clown World guy has disputed this specifically. I'm not sure about the other
guys.
But
he said, Clown World said that he deleted it. If it's a man, I assume that. But he said that I deleted it immediately. My question, I mean, you can keep reading, but like I was wondering how they figured out that these people were paid, because this is something they'd be reluctant to admit typically. So I assume that it was actually a Clown World that's just been relentlessly like browbeaten and pressured by MAGA into just admitting to this, right? Because you don't see like Imas Chong or something admitting that he's being paid.
But he doesn't give a shit. He just posts things.
He's
completely him in the comments, and he never answers. Yeah.
Completely shameless, anyway. Right, but yeah, just keep reading the thread, and I'll chime in as.
You want me to read some of the?
Comes. Yeah. You don't need to read the soda copy here, because it's quite useless. The only point is that it's like, okay, wow, look, within the first these 24 48 hours, all of these big accounts are posting like the exact same sounding things that is like totally coordinated, and they don't know each other, and it's like about the same, like what's going on here. And they found out that okay, there's actually a company that's like contacting these people and paying them to post it. So I mean, there's more information.
These influencers were given a couple of templates to use by Influenceable, which one of them was one of those templates specifically telling them to mention Trump's Diet Coke habit. This was done to invoke emotional responses from loyal Trump supporters, making them feel as if banning soda from Snap would be anti-Trump, an incredibly dirty tactic meant to manipulate loyal followers. So here's I guess it's a PDF or like a PowerPoint presentation, soda bans and government overregulation. Objective: this campaign highlights the dangers of government overregulation with a specific focus on current efforts to restrict soda purchases through food aid programs. The narrative emphasizes how such regulation is an overreach that unfairly targets consumer choice, especially considering the president himself is a Diet Coke enthusiast. Key messaging: government overreach, personal choice and freedom, economic concerns, Trump's preference for Diet Coke, Trump's voter base. Polling shows a majority of Trump voters oppose restrictions on soda purchases through Snap. Key resources: Trump with Diet Coke image. If you submit post after the campaign deadline, it will still count as missed. If you do not submit a deliverable, do not reach out to Influenceable team, including inquiring for campaigns. Okay. All communication must go through Influenceable group. If you have multiple posts for a campaign, please make sure to space out the post times within a 12-hour span. Example, if you have 2 deliverables on Instagram, post one on the 16th of January and one on the 17th. Do not post both on the 16th. To maintain the effectiveness and smooth operation of our campaigns, it's crucial to meet your deadlines. If you accept a campaign and encounter difficulty posting by the deadline, kindly seek approval for extension. Okay. All posts must show likes. Do not hide likes. If likes are hidden, you will only get paid 50% of the offer. Pages must be set to public. Interesting. And then, of course, the Trump with Diet Coke image, which a lot of these posts used. I assume at least one of them.
Why must they show likes, I wonder?
Uses it as well. Sorry, what?
Is it because, why must they show likes, I wonder? Is it because they're botting them to hell?
Maybe that's how they pay them. They pay them based on the likes.
No, they do. He does explain that they actually do pay them
Okay.
quite reasonably, but I do also expect that there's some like botted-like operation here, and really like part of the reason why Elon wanted this anonymous again is
Sure.
that you can sort of just guarantee people by if you give them these Twitter blue tick memberships, you can almost just guarantee people more likes because it's just botted.
Yeah. Influencers were texted by Influenceable telling them to help push back against government overreach and told they'd be paid between several hundred and even thousands plus for each post, attempting to turn MAGA folks against RFK Jr. and Maha.
So there you go. It's like if you have a decent following, one post, $1,000. That's pretty
quite
decent.
nice.
So I assume this is like scaled based on reach. But
And especially if you have a type of reach like Ian Chun Li has, where you can just post literally whatever, and you don't seem to be losing followers, right?
well, as long as Elon likes it, then he stays on top.
Yeah. The way Influenceable operates is simple. They develop comfy relationships with lobbying firms, and Mary Bev and Cart Choice are potentially some examples, who are funded handsomely by massive corporations such as Coca-Cola and PepsiCo. They also develop relations with influencers, such as the ones listed above, and pay them to push these lobbying groups' talking points. They're a middleman that makes a hell of a lot, essentially selling out our country. Every influencer contacted by Influenceable met the same criteria. Supposedly,
Just pause it a little bit because I just love they're selling out. They're selling us out, man. So the anti RFK Jr. soda. They don't want sodas with food stamps, man. They're selling us the fuck. Like this is what they're reacting to. By the way, I assume like for people familiar with me or the stuff that I've put out or I talked about on this channel. I mean, I've been talking about like the growth of the sort of alternative news sphere and foreign influence in that sphere. And I've been documenting, like if you can go on my Substack, the one article I have on there called like a million dead Ukrainians, that's sort of documenting like one of these campaigns where I'm asking the question, like, how is it possible that you have all of these independent influencers that are within like a 48-hour time span posting the exact same sounding fake news stuff with videos and kind of the same themes, seemingly like the question is, if these people were actually organized in a troll factory or something, and they had like some common leadership, they wouldn't be doing it like that. It's so crazily how synchronized it is. And here you sort of just have a template for how this kind of stuff can work, is that you have these kind of middleman companies where there's zero transparency. The influencers, like the accounts, don't post that they're being paid. The influencers don't tell you who's paying you for it. If you go on the website of Influenceable, they don't show who the suppliers are, and they don't show you who the influencers are. So there's just no way of telling the money that's been changed hands behind the scenes.
Whether or not, I mean, it's not to like cry, it's be the hall monitor, but doing this is, I think, both in the US and the majority of the Western world, illegal to do something like this without disclosing it as an ad.
The problem is like the emergence of this kind of alternate media space where it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of a business, but you're kind of a private person, and it's kind of free speech, and it's kind of international, but it's also in a country, and it occupies this sort of gray area where it's not clear, and it's not easy to track, and it's not easy to enforce, and you can't punish people.
It's not unit says the ones that will get you are the ones you never know. Yeah, you get like I guess reverse survivorship bias, where like you don't know who isn't, because if you knew, you would know, right?
Yeah, that's of course the thing. I mean, and of course you could look at these accounts that he showed here, and you could just search their name on Twitter and just put Ukraine there or something, and you could see like just kind of, it's just like this garden hose, sort of this fire hose of these kind of Ukraine fake news things all over all of these sites constantly. And like, but these MAGA types only notice that stuff when it's like Trump and soda or like hamburgers or something, because it's the only thing they care about.
You gotta but at least in terms of burger. That's how the
burgers, freedom burgers, because that's what they're the only thing they care about, and they notice that there's something suspect with this stuff, like the fact that they're pushing this kind of foreign policy stuff on them for like 3 years straight. That's not suspect, but the soda stuff is like, oh yeah, of course. But the sort of emergence of this kind of influencer world, the influencer cowboy economy, is really fueled not just by like Russia, but by foreign actors to the West in general. If you count China, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, maybe Iran to a certain extent, Israel partially, because they have other avenues that are sort of inside of the system. But this just seems like to be, if you're just in this space, how many of these influencers are just posting videos of themselves in Saudi Arabia and talking about I'm walking in the streets of Saudi Arabia. What do you notice? How clean the streets are? Like, I Show Speed recently posted a video. Like, I'm in China, bro. Whoa.
Yeah, it was
look
like
at the buildings, bro. Whoa. I'm in China. Like this that's just par for the course now. That's how when I was talking about how if you have a digital marketing degree, you should just get on here, get an audience, and just wait for like the Saudi princess or something to show up in your inbox to sit and chill. How safe it is to live in Saudi Arabia, and you should just move your family there because based Islamic monarchies are safer than like Western shitholes.
Yeah.
I mean, just selling out, essentially. You're selling out the West to foreign influence for money, either knowingly or through the series of like shell companies that end up with something like Influenceable, quote unquote. It really puts the sort of, it's kind of the final piece of the puzzle for me in terms of like how exactly these things are organized. It's usually like I assume it's like middlemen who are sort of probably taking the attention away from the fact that they're taking foreign money to push certain narratives from them. They just think, okay, there's like some company that wants me to talk about this or something.
Cyber Ninja Zero says, to be fair, it's unironically safer in Saudi Arabia than America or Canada. I wouldn't know because I don't live in a shithole. So, yeah, I mean, if you live in America or Canada, I'm sorry, I guess. But I
mean, usually these kind of like made-up tax paradise cities are better than real countries, at least on sort of per capita basis.
I mean, America is doing quite badly on a lot of stats, so it wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, there's a lot of countries that are safer than America for sure. I'm not saying like that's the general point, but like what they want is basically they want to funnel like as many Western, professionals to move to Saudi Arabia to like work in like their sphere and build up their sphere, essentially. It's kind of the what they want with this, because they don't have a lot, but they just have a lot of money, so they just try to use that to just bring people in here. Let's build our based 5-minute cities in the desert or whatever, like these weird projects that they have going, and try to just pull as much white collar.
There's also
brain
huge
drain,
like in places like Saudi Arabia and Morocco, etc. There's huge like scamming operations going on where like you have like almost small, like there was one recently that they, hang on, let me see if I can find it. They busted like, it's basically like a small city, like thousands of African and Indian immigrants who are basically just sitting there scamming Westerners, and it's run by the Chinese. Let me find this. Let's see. Yeah, this is in the United Arab Emirates. If you look at a channel on YouTube called Jim Browning, he did a really good coverage of this. They busted like 3,000 people who were all like living like ants, scamming Westerners out of their money. And
this is troll farms and scam farms.
Yeah.
So right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of this stuff going on, and because the web is as darkened as it is, and it's hard to track this kind of stuff, and it's becoming harder. Like, I mean, with people like Musk, like pushing this kind of free speech absolutism stuff, it's really just making it easier for those operations. You can say what you want, like, okay, I want to speak my mind. I understand that, but there's just like these huge problems if you don't know where the information you're getting is coming from. And my view is just like the exact opposite of Mensch's Moldbug. Essentially, the opportunity, the temptation to eat Turkish delight as an anonymous account is actually a lot worse than if you're a real human being who has to actually put some skin in the game when you say stuff.
Every influencer contacted by Influenceable met the same criteria, supposedly MAGA aligned. This was all meant to manipulate their followers, which trust them for news and opinions, into siding with Big Soda. A grand total of 0 of them disclosed they were paid to
Yeah,
change
yeah,
the
of
stance and
course.
proposed regulations.
I'm just shocked
Sorry.
that this didn't work. Like, I'm just sometimes something happens on the internet that I just like this. That I'm just shocked that they didn't lap it up. You know, there's like some slop didn't go through.
Sure.
There's a slight filter there where the slop is not passing through.
Yeah.
It was like it's the same thing with like Andrew Tate actually, because I see there is a part of Margot that has like what would you say, a certain resistance or a kind of dislike of him after a while, even though he's coming on all of these shows and stuff. And I think it's just because he's been very sloppy with covering his tracks in terms of the stuff he's done in the past, and his clips of him are circulating all over. So people are seeing that, and it's giving them a negative opinion of him. So some things are not going through, and I guess the anti-Trump, anti-RFK stuff is not. It won't fly.
Influenceable does this a lot, pushing sketchy leftist-aligned ads in the past. They'll also pay people to routinely push candidates and movies too. This is a much more innocent example, but I'm sure you've seen some of these posts. Let's see, what's this? Influenceable phone. Okay. What are you? Listen to what the filmmakers have to say. Sound of Freedom. No single interest group owns the issue of trafficking. I'm not sure what this is referring to.
Well, yeah, Sound of Freedom was like the human trafficking movie, right? Where that became kind of a culture war issue as to like if talking about human trafficking is like a right-wing coded thing or whatever. It was really stupid at the time, and it's gone by the wayside.
Now, I said this to you in the Telegram chat, but if you want to be like really galaxy-brained about this, if you're someone who hires Influenceable because you want people to talk about, X topic, you should also hire someone else to tell Nick Sorter that this is happening so that he'll talk about it, and you'll just get like twice the amount of eyes on your stuff.
Yeah, the thing is that you can go to Influenceable and just sign up as an influencer, right? And I actually suspect that people seeing this, a lot of people who aren't getting the money are just going to try signing up so they can get some of this cash now.
I've been posting for free this entire time.
you guys were getting paid. That's the need.
Want to get paid to shill for people you know nothing about? Influenceable is the perfect fit for you. What's this? The Democrats, blah blah blah. America First values. Return the favor. Gail and I head recruitment. Influenceable agency. Anti-woke influencer agency. Some of the patriots, such as Riley Gaines, refused to sell it to Big Soda, turned down the offer, and called the situation out.
Oh, that's why they know, right? So it's like one guy who
one guy blew the whistle.
Blew the whistle on it.
And here, Clown World says, as you said, he says he deleted it. This is just the beginning. Prepare for part 2 of the story when we find out more about the shady PR firm known as Influenceable. All right. Phil Olson says, "Whoa, Influenceable needs me." Yeah, what's the follower count? How many do I have on Twitter? Do you think they take 2,000 followers? Is that good enough?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of followers lately, but I don't know. I mean, I assume
the most vindicated man of 2025.
It does help, but I mean, at least my followers aren't like. I think most of them are real people because I keep like pruning away the bots all the time. So maybe if I didn't do that, I would be like in the 2,000, 3,000 range.
Yeah.
So it helps not to be dead internet guy.
It does help. It really does.
Okay, 15 minutes left. Do you want to look at the queue thing, or should we round out?
Sure, let's do it. I mean, this is very short. This is from a Norwegian right wing. I think. I guess you want to. Yeah, I think we could say that's right wing. News outlet. Let's see here. Oh, it's being slow. Twitter is being very slow. Let me see if I can bypass it and go straight to the source article. Let's see here. It's looking better. It's looking better. Here we go. Translate to English. So this is about... Let me see if we can get English. Nope. Maybe. Okay, here it is. There are pictures of Trump and QAnon hanging in the Eastern Police District's rehearsal facilities, meaning like the places where they kick down doors, right? It was, quote, "It's only done to create an environment that is not completely sterile." And this is written by Helge Luros, which we've featured quite a number of times. That is the explanation the East Police District in iNews answers iNews questions about pictures hanging in the rehearsal rooms in the tactical department. And what will the American embassy say? I mean, they've just put up like a random photo of Trump. Is that? Let me see if I can zoom in. Copy image address.
Image for ants.
Yeah. Yeah. So this
that's like an A4 paper or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like a photo of Trump. I mean, sure, I guess.
They imagine it's like the "I hate the Antichrist" guy who's sitting in there with a gun.
Yeah.
Waiting for them.
I'm not sure if I even want to read this because I know the line like the right wing guys are going to take here is like, oh, what are you, you're being, it's going to sound like, when people say like, they say something totally innocuous and then someone comes along and says, hey, that's anti-Semitic, right? And it's like the implication, right? I feel like it's going to be that.
This is racial profiling. Is basically their argument. We're being profiled here, which is
we're being
something we don't want.
By you hanging Q posters, which is an incredible self-report, right? Yeah. I think that's everything. I don't even have anything to comment. It's just stupid.
It was funny. Now you saw it, right? You saved the rage for something else.
Joe Biden. In the photo on the far right above the chair. It says another reference to QAnon. Joe Biden was the imposter. I wonder who found these. Where did he find the guy who hung these up? Where did he find these?
It's like his mother's Facebook wall or something. Yeah, he just had to act out.
Patriots in control. Oh, very good. Okay. Is that an Among Us reference? Wait, what? What is an Among Us reference? Let me bring up
the Q. It looks like the Among Us guys.
I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Yeah, honestly. Well, it's the game Among Us. Like they have these.
Yeah, no. I understand. I understand what the Among Us is, and like the little guy. But I'm not
sure
what...
the Q and for the QAnon looks like
Joe Biden was the imposter. Yeah. That's the
Among Us reference. Of course. I misunderstood.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah,
well, that's even better.
The imposter is sus, guys. Right? Am I right? Anyone else? When the imposter is sus? Do you enjoy 2022 memes? All right. I think that's as good a time as any to kill the stream. It has lived on too long when we're regressing into Among Us references. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for watching if you were here live. Thank you, especially if you're watching right now on Twitter, for joining us after we came back on. We'll be back next week, hopefully, as always. Until then, have a good evening and a good weekend. Anything you want to say before we leave Luddic Path?
Nah, I'm joining you. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye-bye.